I want to date my BJJ teammate. So let's talk about this. Before we get into that, just a quick preface. Coach Steph and I are not teammates. We are business owners, coaches together. However, we've never been teammates. We actually have different instructors. And she's actually the only female I've dated in jiu-jitsu, and will be the only female ever dating jiu-jitsu. All right, now that that's been said, um, it's not it's kind of a like hard thing to do, and when you're dating a jiu-jitsu teammate, like I've seen it done. We've have teammates or students that date. I've seen teammates date. It's not an easy feat, right? Because it's one of those things that like it might go wrong. Eventually, if it does go wrong, like what's going to happen with your training? I know some friends of mine that actually agreed. Like the female was there at the gym first, and then the male came later. And once they started dating, their handshake agreement was like, hey, if we break up, you have to quit, right? And it was a joke. They ended up both training there and both being adults about it and be able to like still train and not make it weird. But for me, it was always one of those things that's like the bad always outweighed the good. So I just avoided it because I always felt like if it does go wrong, it's going to go really wrong. And then your training environment, your school, it's kind of like now it's not that safe haven, that place you want to go to get away from the world.
So let me talk about it from a like coach's perspective as well. We actually have some students that date. We have some other students that were dating and now they're not. And it is a little bit awkward at times. There's a lot of kind of skirting around each other, or, when it's time to spar and as a coach, you're like putting people together and you just don't even think about it. You're like, this person go with this person, and they're like, oh wait, they used to date. They don't want to train together. They're not ready for that. Like, it is very awkward. We talk a lot about also like if you're already training and you want to hit on a teammate, don't do it. Just don't do it. If that teammate rejects you, how are you going to handle it? Now you're going to have to see this person that rejected you on a day-to-day basis. And that's not going to be good for your ego, for your confidence, for your jiu-jitsu. And on the flip side of that, one of the things that people always say when we post things like this is, well, what if I want a partner that does jiu-jitsu? Cool. There's tons of places where you can meet other people that do jiu-jitsu that are not your teammates, at competitions, at events, at, all kinds of things. And I think that's what gets lost. A lot of people go, well, my professor and his wife both do jiu-jitsu. Because there is a lot of that. More than likely, they met through jiu-jitsu, but they did not meet on the same mat. And that's a very, very clear like distinction that you have to make. If you want to find a partner that does jiu-jitsu, go out there and look for them. Do not look for them on the same mat.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like it can be done, and it has been done, and the right way, like gone through a relationship, been together. People get married that train on the same team. But I think if you look at the track record, like for me, I'm just like numbers. Like if it's been done 100 times, it probably worked out 4 or 5, right? So for me, like when I was coming up and training, it just, like if you put like positives versus negative chart, like to me the negatives always outweigh the positives. So that's why I try to avoid like dating on my teammates or dating people that I was training with on that team, just because again, it just didn't seem like in the end it would work out, and it would be worth losing my training environment, losing potentially having to move teams, instructors, things like that. So again, not saying you can't do it at all, but I would advise against it. And again, like Coach Steph said, if you really want to date someone in jiu-jitsu, like go out into the community, right? The community's, pretty big, as depending on what city you're in, but there's different schools, different competitions. You can meet a lot of different people at. I would say, dating apps, but there's maybe one jiu-jitsu dating app out there, but I'll probably avoid that.
You can go on Tinder, Bumble. There's tons of people that do jiu-jitsu on those apps.
Yeah,
find them there.
You could do that too. But again, go out to events, right? Competitions. Obviously, there's plenty of people at open mats, things like that. If you want to date someone jiu-jitsu, my advice would be try to do it outside of your team. That way you don't cause any issues inside of your team, not only for your team, but for yourself.
And on the flip side of that, if it does happen organically, because there are relations that do happen organically, like within your team, have like some clear boundaries as far as what happens if we don't work, or what happens, like worst case scenario, me and you break up, we don't want to be in the same room together. You know, who's gonna have to leave? Who's gonna like be the bigger person? Like have those like rules kind of set in place before.
Agreed. Yeah. And if you don't have those boundaries, you're probably being unrealistic. You're like, oh, we're just going to be together
Together forever.
forever and we're never going to break up. And be realistic, right? And that way you don't get to a situation where you both want to be there and one person is forced out or one person feels like they have to leave.
Or they quit jujitsu.
Yeah, or even worse, yeah, they quit altogether. Like that would be bad for both of you, right? And even if you're not with that person, like you still don't want them to quit jiu-jitsu, especially because of you and because of the bad breakup. So yeah, like I said, I think again avoiding it as much as possible in the same team is ideal. If not, going outside of it, and if necessary, again, like Coach Steph said, setting boundaries. That way, you're not set up for failure if it doesn't work out.
And recap, not my professor.
No.
Not.